Hello there. This is James, and you're watching a sort of special on One Royal Live. But it's not just One Royal Live. Oh no. It's a session called Ask Me Anything. That's right. You can live on Instagram or YouTube ask me any questions whatsoever. But let's try and keep it to trading if possible. And I will decide if I answer what sort of questions. But let's try and keep it to trading. But anyway, this is a really special broadcast. As well as that, what I would like to try and do with this is I would like us to have like an open conversation. So I want to hear you good people's opinions and views and ideas on trading and the market as well. But before we get started, don't forget these little broadcasts are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research, do your due diligence, and of course, more importantly, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. With that out of the way, let's get started. So like I said, this is indeed a live broadcast where you good people either on Instagram or via YouTube can send in your questions. Ask me almost anything. Again, like I said at the beginning, try and keep it to trading though, and I'll decide what questions I will answer if it's not. And we got, well, here we go here. We got some recent AI. No, I'm not AI, I'm real, unfortunately. I'm a real flesh and blood human being, unfortunately. But like I say, you can ask me some very questions. And obviously, if I know the answer, I, of course, will answer them. I don't think I've convinced this gentleman. Yes, I definitely am human. But wow, nice to meet you. How do you do? I hope you're having a great day. Thank you for coming along. So yeah, any questions at all? I mean, I've got a couple of questions that people have already sent in already, which, of course, we'll go through. Okay, we got one of our first. I answer that question. I hate AI, dude. I understand, my friend. I understand it can take. It's a tool. It's a tool, but I promise you, I'm definitely not AI. But here's a question we have here. Okay, it's an interesting question. The question is, it's from Frozen Shadows. Nice to meet you, my friend. Hope you're good. If you had one piece of advice to give to someone what you've learned in life, what would it be? That's a great question. In not trading, well, actually, you can actually put it in trading related as well, actually. You can put it in form of both. Now, all through life, okay, we fall down. You know, we fall down when we're a child, when we're toddlers. Okay, and then, that's important. And we do that as adults as well. And we do that in trading as well. We fall down in trading. We may have losses and things like that. And what we need to do is embrace those falls, all those losses, and learn from it, because that's how we learn to pick ourselves back up. So my piece of advice I would say to people is that don't get angry when you fall down, or don't get angry when you lose. Instead, see that as an advantage to take that and learn from it. And like I say, that can be in life in general, okay? Because life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans, to quote John Lennon. Obviously, I'm a big fan. But that's the truth. Embrace those little falls, both in trading and in life. Learn from it and pick yourself back up from it. But that's a great question. I really like that question. Really do. If I cut an apple and half an onion, what will you make? What would I make out of half an apple and half an onion? I don't know if I could make many things. I probably might try and make a bit of a sweet curry type thing, actually, with an onion and an apple. Something sweet like that, maybe. I'm not a great cook, though. All joking apart, but that's an interesting question. Yeah, let's try and keep it trading, if possible. What was that again? We got a reply. Wonderful advice, my friend. I hope you have a blessed live stream. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And can I wish you a fantastic day and more importantly, even better weekend. Thank you. So yeah, I am old, so I do have a little bit of experience in bits and pieces. And like I said, I've been in trading arena. Just tell you a little bit about myself. People who may not know me, obviously. I've been doing this industry now for 20 years. So I'm old school, I'm old fashioned. Okay, so I'm not a big crypto guy. I'm not that. Don't really ask me about cryptos, but I'm old fashioned. But I do have a quite standard of understanding. Okay, this is an interesting question here. Again, this is actually trading related. This is from Aya, I think it is. What is the optimum risk to reward ratio for a new trader? I wouldn't necessarily say just for a new trader. I think traders in general. Again, there's a number of different opinions, okay, in relation to risk to reward ratio. But usually the standard rule of thumb or the standard guideline that people tend to look at is 3-to-1, as in, your profit target should be 3 times what you're risking. And there's a reason why it's 3-to-1, okay, and why that is the theory is because here's the reality when it comes to trading. Here's the reality. You are going to have losing trades no matter what you do. Every single trader has losing trades. Doesn't matter how amazing they think they are, everybody's going to have losing trades. So the idea of doing a 3-to-1 ratio is the trades you do get right will be 3 times the trades you lose. Okay, so at the end of the trading month, your balance will still be higher because your profits should be higher than your losses. You probably have more losses, a lot more losses, but the profits should outweigh that, meaning your account should be in the green. So the standard rule of thumb people tend to look at is indeed 3-to-1. What an excellent question. My favorite, okay, I will ask every question. My favorite game is Grow, G-R-O, on VR. It's a VR game, is it? What's yours? I don't have any VR games whatsoever. When I see them. Like I say, if you're on Instagram, of course, you can ask me questions on Instagram as well. And of course, we're on YouTube and Instagram. I'm not seeing any Instagram questions at the moment, only on YouTube I'm seeing. So I'm not seeing any Instagram questions at all. So please feel free to talk to me via Instagram as well. This is why we're doing it portrait. I don't like portrait. I like landscape. But portrait makes my head looks really big, but that's why we're doing it portrait today, so we can go on Instagram. Okay, this is a great saying. Again, let's try and keep it training related, but I'll answer it because I think it's quite amusing. What does it mean, raining cats and dogs? Well, in Britain, that means it's raining very heavily. It's an old expression from the UK where it means it rains a lot. Okay, are you partnered with a broker? This is a question which I can't bring up on screen because it's just been sent to me across. I believe this is from Instagram. I work for a broker. I represent a broker. I represent One Royal because I'm the head of market research and market analysis here. So I don't represent a broker. Well, I do technically represent a broker, but I work for a broker. I'm, the head of market research and analysis here. Right, next question. Let's go down on these questions here. We've got another one. I'm not sure what that means. Here we go. Here again, it's a trading related question. Excellent. I like this. What is your favorite technical indicators? Okay. I always say this, and I never suggest anybody ever takes it as gospel, okay? Because trading at the end of the day is personal, okay? So many different trading indicators work for different people depending on their personality and their style and things like this, okay? So whatever I prefer is not necessarily the right trading indicator for you. This is from Christina, by the way. Hello, Christina. Thank you. Great question. My personal, because I tend to be very much a position trader, okay? And I look at like the long-term trend and look for the intrinsic value. The indicators I tend to favor is obviously moving averages. I do look at moving average crossovers as well, but I tend to do a lot of trend lines as well and Fibonacci retracement. My favorite thing I try and look for, though, is not necessarily an indicator, it's more of a theory, and that is, of course, the Elliott Wave theory. For those of you who don't know what the Elliott Wave theory is, a theory that tries to display buying habits, or the psychology, should I say, of the market, where you look for like certain waves, like wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. I tend to be a big fan of that. I like to look and see if I can spot that, usually over a longer time frame as well. But like I said, my favorite would tend to be moving averages, especially moving averages, crossovers. I do tend to do a lot of trend lines, and I do follow the Elliott Wave theory. That is what I like. I'm not saying that that's the best indicator for you. It all depends on your own personality. But a great question, Christina. Thank you. Okay, here's a great question. This is Alexander. Hey, James, what is your favorite market to trade and why? Now, those of you who might have seen my previous live shows many moons ago, because we haven't done a live show in a while, but we have got a brand new show coming very soon. So be prepared for that. But those of you who know me, have seen me before, they know what my greatest love is when it comes to trading. And that, of course, is gold. I love gold. So I do trade a lot of gold. I watch gold, I talk about gold, and I praise gold a lot. Now, the reason why I have this obsession with the yellow metal is because when I started 20 years ago, gold was the very first asset commodity I was involved in. I traded. So it was love at first sight. So you can say it's my first love. That's why I love gold. But to be fair with you, I do generally like the commodity market in general. So I do like the commodities, and especially the soft commodities. I think it's a market which is so overlooked, soft commodities. Because again, the thing with gold and with like soft commodities is, again, fits my ethos when it comes to trading. It's tend to be very fundamental based, okay, or very fundamental based. So I think I'm more into fundamentals than I am to technicals. So those are why I tend to favor it. But yeah, my favorite thing to trade, my favorite thing to watch is, of course, gold. Great question. Moving on. Again, okay, this is an interesting. Keep it with commodities. Keep it with commodities. This is an interesting question. Christiana, again, I think, say, hi, James. Will oil stay above $100 in the coming months? Now, that is, of course, the $69 or $69 million question. As you know, as everybody knows, unless you've been living under a rock, the past couple of months has been incredibly traumatic with, obviously, the conflict between Israel, US, and Iran, in particular with the Strait of Hormuz, okay, which supplies 40% of the world's oil. As well as that, this conflict has also meant other oil-producing countries have come under attack, which also affects the supply. This is why we've seen oil at levels not seen since 2022 because of the supply issues. And this, of course, is leading to other things like fear of rising inflation and things like that. Will we stay above $100 a barrel is the big question. It's all down to the fact. It's all down to the fact of whether or not we can get a concrete peace deal between Iran and US and Israel. If we can get a concrete peace deal between those nations, then the chances are oil will start to fall. We saw that over the last couple of trading sessions where oil has indeed dropped down below $100, only just because of optimism of a peace deal. If we do get a concrete peace deal, that'll open up the Strait of Hormuz. It means supply will come back onto the market, which means oil will again start to come down to the price it should be at. If we don't, if there's further tensions or if there's an increasing conflict, then the chances are we will stay above $100 a barrel. But it's all down to that. That's the one thing at the moment which we're all sort of holding our breath about. But an amazing question. Great question. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. That's all right. Thanks a lot, James. You're welcome. Thank you for the question. The question was awesome. Thank you very much, Dave. I love that question. Very good. Okie dokie. Now, I guess it's getting down to my personal view on trading, but an amazing question. Show them 3274. I love it. I love your username. Brilliant. And welcome, by the way. Thank you for coming on and asking the question. What is your go-to trading strategy? Really interesting. Okay, as I mentioned previously, I do consider myself a position trader. Okay, where I do try and look at the long-term value of something, and I try and look for the overall intrinsic value in the long term. Okay, so with that, trend lines, things like that. Every now and then, okay, if I want to, dip into the market, I might look at price action just to do some quick, short little trades. What that is, obviously, is where you look for areas where people have been buying in and where people have been selling in, and then you try and jump in around that area. Okay, so again, I'm a very long-term strategy. I look at the real intrinsic value to the point where I think where that product has reached its intrinsic value, and then I tap out. The other strategy I do go to a lot, and I do quite enjoy occasionally, if there's European news or UK news as well, which at the moment, to be fair, the market is dominated by what's going on in the States, and obviously the White House and a certain president tends to dominate the market more. But in the past, I used to do like a hedging strategy a lot when there was news about the UK and from Europe, and that strategy would be basically two currency pairs I would trade. One was the euro sterling, and the other was the guppy. For those who've traded the guppy, is the British pound, Japanese yen. And the strategy would be, I would do my research, say, on the euro sterling to find out where I thought that was going to go. And I would open, say, I don't know, half a lot with that. Okay, go long half a lot on the euro sterling. But to hedge myself at the same time, I would buy a quarter of a lot, or maybe 1/10 of a lot, on the guppy, smaller position on the guppy. And the idea of that was a hedge. So if I got it wrong with the euro sterling, the guppy trade will make me a little bit of profit. To not everything would cover it, but give me a little bit of an insurance policy, a little bit of money back. Okay, and the reason why I would do that is because both those pairs are negatively correlated. So they will go in the opposite direction of each other, and they're very negatively correlated. I would sometimes do that. That would be one of my favorites. But again, like I said, I must stress this. That strategy does not work like in trading all the time. So again, do not take that as trading advice thinking you found fool's gold, because it doesn't always work, like everything. It doesn't always work. But a great question. Okay, this is a great question as well. This is again, brilliant. Thank you. Another one, please. What market shows the greatest potential for the rest of the year? Again, not to be taken as trading advice, but at the end of the day, I think all of us, or the market in general, has got itself really, really, really super excited about AI. Okay, and we are seeing that AI is driving definitely the tech companies of the Mag 7, like Nvidia, Amazon, Google, Alphabet, etc., Microsoft, and they of course are pushing the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq higher. I'm one of many who think eventually this is a bubble and it will burst. However, like many people like myself who's been saying this, that bubble's still got a way to go first before it bursts. And the other reason why that's the case is because, unfortunately, what we are living in at the moment is what's known as a K-shaped economy, okay, where the market and everything's been driven by the big earners. And this is what's keeping the S&P and NASDAQ and things like this higher. And that's still very, very apparent. So the greatest potential for the market, certainly for the upside, potentially, not as advised, is still the indices and still the Mag 7 at the moment. NVIDIA in particular, that's going to be really interesting because don't forget, A, they had better earnings. Their forecast for Q2 is a lot better. And plus, the US government has allowed them to sell their H200 chip to 10 Chinese firms. That's only 10. What if they open up the whole Chinese market? So that, I think, is quite exciting. One more question, by all means. Hello, my friend. What's your question? What is the most economic events to watch? Fantastic question. And again, something which is right down my alley, because like I said beforehand, I'm more of a fundamental trader than a technical trader, because that's what we did when we first started. Here's the thing, though. Usually, I would say, obviously, non-farm payroll, especially for currency traders. That's not such a big thing anymore. Then I would say, of course, consumer price index, inflation, especially the United States, unemployment rate, things like this, PPI, producer price index, global manufacturing, all are important. As it stands at the moment, we tend to, for now, we are ignoring economic indicators. They're not making the big splash on the market like it used to. For now, what is really dominating the market is what comes out of the White House, what a certain president says, how he acts, what he does. That's what's driving the market. I remember days, and I've said this already, where I'll be looking at EU data and I'll look at UK data. But now it's all about what comes out of the White House. And that overshadows a lot of the key economic indicators. However, when that stops and we go back to common sense, looking at economic data, the indicators I would look at, or the key economic events I'll look at, will depend on what the market is talking about. What the market is talking about. Okay, what the story is, because the market can only ever focus on one story at a time. Now, back in 2022, the key story, of course, was the global inflation crisis we had. So the key event you would watch then, of course, was CPI, Consumer Price Index, every inflation indicator, PPI, for example, that was driving them. That was important. If the story or the market is focusing on employment, that's popped his head up, and that's the story it's talking about. Okay, then of course we will look at the non-farm payroll, US initial claims, claimant count in the UK, unemployment levels, things like that. If it's about interest rates, then of course we would be looking to what comes out from the Fed interest rate decision, ECB interest rate decision, UK interest rate decision, Bank of Japan, for example. So again, it depends what the story is to what key economic indicator is going to be the driver. As it stands for now, unfortunately, a lot of that, though still can have an impact, is taking a back seat because it's all about what comes out of the White House. Great question, though. Thank you. Got another question here. Hey, James, what stock do you think traders might be sleeping on? As in, what stock do I think has more room to go? Well, I tend to, obviously, at the moment, we have the Mag 7, which is dominating everything, like NVIDIA, which hit an all-time high last week, and it's the biggest company by market cap. And then obviously you have the likes of Tesla, which has managed to recover from the terrible 2025 it had, Microsoft is beginning to make room as well, which is interesting. So the Mac 7 is dominating everything. I do think, though, even though NVIDIA's huge success might still have room to grow until this AI bubble bursts, but I don't see that bursting, unfortunately, anytime soon. So I'd probably say I'd still be looking at the Mac 7. They dominate everything. They really, really do. It's all about that. That's what's driving everything. S&P, NASDAQ. So again, it's the Mac 7. So NVIDIA in particular, keep a very, very close eye on, especially for their, for the next earning report, which is most likely going to be positive. And like I say, they've already been agreed they can sell to 10 Chinese companies. You know, what happens when they can sell to more? Their H200 chips. So again, that's got huge ground to go on. But great question. Thank you. And Salim, that was nice. Excellent. Thank you for coming, mate. I really appreciate it. Okie dokie. Any other questions at all? Okay, don't forget. And it doesn't just have to be questions, guys. Don't forget. It doesn't have just to be questions. It can be an open conversation. You can share with me your opinion, your views. Let me know what you think. What stock do you think is sleeping? Have I ever, is there a secret stock out there you think is gonna get ready to explode? Or what do you think about gold? Or are you a currency trader? What indicators do you use? Feel free to be asking me anything like that. Or I'm not asking you. Share me your views. The whole point of doing sort of live shows, of course, is and why I've been doing them for as long, is that I like to try and have open conversations, share ideas and opinions, so people can then say, well, this is what I think, and we can talk about it. And I love that. I love that type of community feel, because this is what it's all about. This is what it's all about, is sharing ideas and everything else. And my views or my opinions might not be, for everybody. So I like to hear other people's ideas, etc. Stuff like that. That's the whole point. So feel free to chip in and say, James, you're wrong. NVIDIA's going to crash and burn, or whatever you like. Okie dokie. Okay. Now, what I will say, of course, we will be doing new live series very, very soon. I won't tell you the name of the show, because I have my my partner, not my partner in a romantic sense, of course, my business partner who I'm working with for the setup. He's my Paul McCartney to my John Lennon. And we're working on this show. We're very excited about it. And we'll be getting a lot of really exciting ideas. So you will know that show very, very soon. And we're really excited about it. Like I say, really excited. Oh, I've got another question here. Here we go. What do I think about the SpaceX IPO? Well, obviously they filed their registration yesterday, didn't they? To register as an IPO. There is a lot of excitement about it. It is risky. Everything is risky. It's a big risk. But there's a lot of anticipation that this could be one of the biggest IPOs of all time. Could raise around up to be 1 to maybe 2 trillion on the opening. So it's a lot of anticipation. Whether or not that is a lot of what's he called, Pulp and Funder, from obviously the CEO of Tesla, who we all know who that is, who's quite a personality. It might be a little bit there is danger that it could be, a lot more emperor's new clothes type thing. But there is no doubt that the technology we've seen from SpaceX is incredibly impressive. And I think space exploration and that sort of thing is the next potential key market in the future, because obviously you've got the Amazon projects as well. But yeah, SpaceX, I think there's a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement. Maybe we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. because we've seen some great tech, but we haven't seen everything yet to say that it's 100% perfect. But we'll see. I think it's more what's it called? More getting the bunting and stuff out than it actually is. But we'll have to see. But great question. That was Alexander. So excellent question. Thank you for that. Any other questions at all? Don't forget, if you're watching me on Instagram, you can ask me questions on Instagram too. I'm just seeing YouTube questions at the moment, which is great, which is not a problem. Not a problem. Okie dokie. Now, how long have you poor people been listening to me for? Oh, you've been listening to me for 31 minutes. You poor people, you putting up with me. But anyway, let's no questions. Let's wrap up, I guess. Now, don't forget, if you're indeed watching me on Instagram or watching me on YouTube, by all means, and you put up with me, more importantly, you thought, oh my God, I've listened to this crazy Englishman for the last half an hour. And I got through it. Give us one of these. It's nice to know that you like what we do. At the same time, if you're watching YouTube or Instagram, please give us a follow, because we will be doing more shows like this. And of course, our brand new show, which I'm so excited to share with you, is coming very, very soon. So give us a follow, as well as hit the little notification, the little bell thing, notification bell. So next time we're going live or we post another video of my ugly face online. Anyway, before I wrap up, all I want to say is a big thanks to everybody who's asked all these amazing questions. It's absolutely superb. Thank you so much. I really, 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 really appreciate it for your time and watching and asking some really decent trading related questions, which is great. I didn't get asked any personal questions, which is nice. But they're brilliant. Thank you, everybody, for asking those questions. Leaves me to say, till next time, don't forget, these little broadcasts, videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research, do your due diligence, and of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. Till next time, every single one of you, trade safe.